Guys, I've solved Ice Shards! It's simple! We just have infinite mana, and then we're ridiculously powerful all of the time, and can push nightmare dungeons, you know, like 20 levels above us. It's really simple! Hello, my fellow sorcerers! How are you doing this fine day in Sanctuary? I welcome you then to, well, the Ice Bullet Turret. Of course, you all know the Ice Shard build. A lot of people are playing it, more so than Lash, but I would like to think no one is playing it quite like how I'm about to show you. A way that we can stay not just with infinite mana, but most of the time sitting above 100 mana, so we can take near permanent advantage of the free plus 60% crit, which just makes you delete enemies. I don't have a single resource management aspect on any of my gear doing this. It is all offensive and as thus does silly damage. And I wasn't joking, I have managed to push up to a level 38 nightmare dungeon here, which is 20 levels above me. Which meant that, yeah, a lot of enemies were more than capable of one-shotting me, and that suddenly did happen. But the fact is, offensively speaking, I felt way overtuned even for dungeons 20 levels above me. That is silly. And I can easily understand anyone who favors the Ice Shards over the Lash, but I certainly wanted to do it in, well, my own way here, that lets you really just spam them out there, careen round the screen, chain freezing everyone, ricocheting, piercing, you know how it works, and you just start clearing rooms without really having to do much else than just vaguely fire the spell in a kind of vaguely enemy-based direction. Honestly, it feels like this might be a little bit too good, but at the same time, it's not better than the peak that a few other classes can do, so it really better not get nerfed. So, without further ado then, let's actually go into this and show you my take on Ice Shards, as I promised that I would, and let's be honest, I would be remiss as a Sorcerer player and someone who hopefully you enjoy watching builds of, to not at least cover this other main meta option with my own twist on it that I think really makes it pop. So, the skill tree once more lays out before us. We start with our Firebolt, because of course, like basically every viable Sorcerer build, we have to take it for the enchantment so we can use our burning Synergies for actual damage. Then we move on down and grab the star of the show in Ice Shards itself, of course all 5 ranks, and then get enhanced, and finally we want to go to destructive so they make enemies vulnerable. We'll still be having Frost Nova, of course, but being able to make the entire room vulnerable at range is incredibly useful and outperforms the other option. Then we head down to our defensives, and like every sorcerer when asked which one would they like to put points into, our answer can only be everyone! Flame Shield then for our clutch shot of immune, and our top up with the 50% heal on using it. Yes, this build has so much mana, we don't even need the mana cost reduction aspect. It really is that good. Teleport, as you might imagine, and then the usual too, so we can use it more often and take less damage after we do. We grab just Ice Armor, just for the survivability, the barrierness, and the barrier synergy that we will be playing with. We don't need enhanced, and we don't need shimmering. Again, we don't need the extra mana regen with this build. We could just go all in on damage and still have infinite mana. It is delicious. We put 1 rank of elemental attunement, as we have so much lucky hit happening here that 1 is enough to regularly give us the reset without having to waste more points. Moving on down then, we grab precision magic, as this is a lucky hit focused Ice Shards build that we'll get to more in depth later. They align the elements just so we can get to protect protection, so all of our cooldowns gives us the barrier, both for not dying and for triggering all of our barrier synergy. And then mana shield, as even though we're going to stay above 100 mana most of the time, we're still spending it technically, so having this permanent 15% damage reduction rolling is very, very useful, especially when pushing high nightmare dungeons. We want 1 rank of Icy Veil. We're going to be applying barriers so often here that we don't need to increase the duration, and then it lets us get to snap fees, which is really useful, as just insta-freezing really sets this off and just deletes waves of enemies. And again, we have a lot of lucky hits, so this happens a lot. We grab the usual Inner Flames to get to the Devouring Blaze to do 30% more crit damage. We will be critting a lot too, so this is a big boost. Then we move on down to our ultimate and grab Deep Freeze. This is a kind of our, oh no, emergency button. I'm in over my head. I need a bit of a breather to freeze the room and then clear them up. And of course, it's very useful for resetting or at least halving our defensive cooldowns when we get out of it. Then we just take all of the frost passives. The increased damage to elites, the increased damage to chilled frozen, and the increased damage to vulnerable. That's all nice, will make us hit harder. But this Frigid Breeze is the star of the show. A 20% chance to generate 15 mana when hitting vulnerable enemies. This build makes every enemy vulnerable all of the time. This build has massive amount of lucky hit. This procs constantly, and it's one of the reasons we perpetually stay in the region of 100 mana, and it feels so much fun. Then for our passive, of course, we take Avalanche, so again, lucky hits. We get 2 free casts of Ice Shards, and they do even more damage. This again will happen all the time, and is another reason that we get to stay on infinite max mana. This one you're probably aware of. Every Ice Shards build, of course, uses Avalanche. So as you can imagine, our bars are self-evident, the 4 defensives, Ice Shards, and Deep Freeze, and it really is as simple as just use Ice Shards on enemies, and then prioritize frozen enemies, as that will give you the most bang for your buck when we go over our legendary items in but a moment. And just to show you, by the way, look how many Ice Shards I can cast before running out of mana against nothing. It really is quite nice. That is, what, 5, 6-ish, which gives you so many opportunities for all your lucky hit mana-saving passives to take effect, which is another reason that this can really stay so high on mana just all the time, even against single-target bosses. The defensives, then, you use them defensively. We still use our unique stone pull grouping chest, so use that to stack, and once you've arrived at the stack point, you want to dash out and then just blitz the Ice Shards through the group of enemies. That's all well and good. Once we've arrived, we want to, of course, make everyone vulnerable and frozen, and again, just melt them down, because Ice Shards on a frozen enemy is a dead enemy. Get out of jail free with your flame shield, more barriers as you cast them, and then, of course, Deep Freeze as your ultimate. I just need a breather here, oh my god. Or if there's just so many enemies on screen, this will freeze them all, and then they're all just going to get vaporized when you start ricocheting Ice Shards around. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's 2 main factors to this. We have the 40% chance to ricochet to another enemy, and then we have the required Ice Shards pierce 3 to 4 times and deal a bit less damage for the privilege, so they go through our intended target, hit others, all of them can bounce, and that is just delicious. And then when we look at our enchantment slots, that plays into that, because yes, we take the Firebolt enchantment to get all of our burning synergy, so everything's always on fire, that's fine, but we do of course take the Ice Shards enchantment, so that when an enemy is frozen, Ice Shards will just automatically go kill them. And if you are doing dungeons and content that is your level, I can't stress enough how hilarious this is. This amps your damage so much. It still does in High Nightmare, because you pack a group of enemies on top of each other with the unique chest, you freeze them all, and then this automatically sends a shard at each of them, which pierces, which ricochets, which deletes them just passively, so that's really nice. But seriously, when you're facing enemies that are your level, I'll go show you. So this huge pack of enemies here, including 2 elites, I am just going to do a kind of generic Frost Nova in the center, and then we're just going to stand there, and it's just so silly. Like, seriously, it feels like a cheat code when you're facing enemies that don't have ridiculously buffed health or anything like that. And the thing is, because we run, when you hit a crowd-controlled enemy, there's a 50% chance for it to spread to another. Yeah, that does apply to this. When this flies out, automatically hitting a frozen enemy, it's now got that lucky hit chance to freeze another enemy, which will then cause this passive to fly towards that enemy, and you can see how that kind of develops. It can just chain CC the whole screen and just automatically passively kill them for you. This is just the boss of this event, and I'm just gonna kind of stand here and oh, okay, I guess I didn't need to press any other buttons. I really can't deny I do find Ice Shards very, very fun in that regard. And actually, as a little bit of a tip or an extension to that enchantment slot, you can, if you're doing easy dungeons or just normal dungeons, drop Deep Freeze altogether, because we don't kind of need that, oh god, it's all going wrong cooldown that we do when pushing High Nightmare, and you can grab Blizzard, up to Mage's Blizzard. The reason for that is, well, again, we can kind of just walk through the dungeon, placing blizzards on enemies, and then ignoring them, and then our passive will just kind of kill them. It's really, really effective. You see me just shooting ice spikes behind me, and I don't really need to pay attention to the enemies. I can just sort of mow them down passively as I progress down the corridors, which is a really, really fun way to do things. But of course, if the enemies are too tanky, too strong, then that's not going to quite work. But it is a really neat thing to do when you're just kind of blast farming, or farming XP, or farming legendaries in a loot cave. It works really, really well for that, so it's something to keep in mind of. So, legendary gear-wise then, what are we working with? You want the Avalanche key passive, having 1 extra charge, so then we get 2 0-mana casts and 2 casts that are enhanced in damage. This will help maintain our mana a lot. And then we want, as I showed, the Ice Shards piercing. This is key. If you don't have this, you can't really do the Ice Shards build. They need to pierce, otherwise it's going to feel very anticlimactic. Then on the necklace specifically, we want the Elementalist, a higher crit chance when you cast Ice Shards above 100 mana. This will happen a lot in this build, which is a huge power gain. Then we want control, so we deal more damage to frozen and stunned enemies. Enemies will be frozen and stunned a lot. This one is easy. And then we want to do more damage to vulnerable enemies. Well, we have a barrier. We'll always have a barrier, and enemies are always vulnerable, so this is a huge gain. On our boots then, the chance to spread crowd control effects. This means that, yeah, we just keep chaining frost and stun to every enemy in the room, and sometimes automatically because of the enchantment. It really ups the speed and flexibility of the build. We want the Ice Heart Brias unique because, I mean, we're freezing people constantly, and this just makes freezing that much better. And if enemies die while frozen, that chance to unleash a Frost Nova. Let's say you have spread your freeze with your boots to an enemy at the corner of the room, then they die, they burst with a Frost Nova, and who just drives by on a horse and throws a book on the floor? That enemy then dies, they explode in a Frost Nova, freezing everyone else around them. Then your enchantment passive starts targeting them as well, and you can just see how this chains across the place. On the gloves, this one is a real key one. Critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed. We're critting constantly, so this just reads, cast your frost spikes 25% faster. That is obviously really, really good, essentially amounting to a 25% DPS increase. The chest, the Raiment of the Infinite, so we can do our teleport AoE stun group. That is very nice. We can have everyone piled up, step aside, and then blast them through with piercing ice. And then finally, we want the Frost Nova getting an extra charge, because the more freezing we can do, the infinitely better, and this plays into it. Also, the more cooldowns we press, the more barriers we have, which is good for all our barrier synergy, and the more vulnerable we have, again, the better everything is. We do a lot of damage to vulnerable enemies. So you see how this kind of all comes together. I will admit, though, that the real secret sauce to this whole endeavor is the actual stats on your gear. And this is the priority order as I go over them. So, I will admit though that the actual stats on the gear are what makes this possible, and if you want to play this style of Ice Shards, you are going to have to go out your way to make it happen. First and foremost, we need lucky hit chance. Lucky hit chance pure, lucky hit chance with a barrier, all of that good stuff. For this reason, you want to use a wand because that comes with lucky hit chance as its default standard guaranteed bonus. We also, after that then, want mana cost reduction, so our spells, or in this case, spell, cost less mana. Because of that, my Ice Shards only use 22 mana. That's why I can cast it 5-6 times without running out of mana. That gives so many more chances for all the lucky hit mana solutions to actually happen, and it's what fuels this whole endeavor. Past that then, you simply want cooldown reduction so we can use our defensives as often as possible and everything that fuels. You want crit chance to power all our crit based synergies and crit damage, and then you want ranks of Ice Shards and ranks of Frost Nova wherever you can get them. After that, it's just generic damage ups. More vulnerable damage, more crit damage, more cold damage, and intelligence, those types of things, and you will be good. But to put it more specifically then, you are aiming to have a lucky hit chance of nearly 50%. I have 35 by default, an extra 10 with barrier, and I get a bit more from the Paragon board that we will go into, so I sit at about 60% while actually fighting, which is obviously awesome, and it keeps things flowing. You want to start to head towards 30% cooldown reduction, and you want to head towards 30% mana cost reduction, and then you're in the sweet spots and you are going to be away. You also ideally want to be at 30% natural crit chance too, and that's your 4 main barriers to meet, and you'll start seeing amazing results. So here we are then, Paragon board. We have the first one. I'm not kidding. It's shocking, right? Can you imagine starting with the first board? And in here, we want to put Destruction, more crit damage, and for every 5 decks, our core skills do more damage. Ice Shards is a core skill, this is made for it. Then we activate it as you can, and move on up to the second board. The second board, we want to be the Burning Instinct board, though we're not going to go anywhere near Burning Instinct. We are, however, going to grab the rare nodes, obviously, and I wish I had more points. I've had to take points out of these, which you really do want and need to reach to certain passives that we'll get to in a moment, but fill these back in if you have more points than I do. Other than that, grab the 3 main rare nodes and the glyph here. You want Exploit for more vulnerable damage. We work off vulnerable damage with this setup, and this gives us a hefty boost to it. Then we move over up and out to the left, and this is the rotation, so you can have a proper look. In this instance, you want the glyph closest to the gate, and this is the Frigid Fate board. You want to head straight down, grab Oppressive. We want as much vulnerable damage as we can get in here, then head up to the glyph slot, and this one, it's time for Tactician. The reason we want this is to get this +% bonus to the rare nodes, and the 10% damage increase on defensive skill. You can't activate this until you upgrade this glyph twice, but that's fine, it's a long-term goal. We really care about this boosting the power of weakness here for even more vulnerable damage. You also do want to pop up and get this for the intelligence when you have the spare points. Now we actually head to a legendary passive, which is nice to actually use one in a sorcerer build. Zip on up round here and grab said Frigid Fate. Dealing cold damage to vulnerable enemies increases your lucky hit chance. Yeah, you see where that's going. This is just permanent plus 15% lucky hit chance, and since the entire build is fueled by lucky hits, this is an excellent choice and will really bump you up once you get a hold of it. Then you want to head south and get to the next gate, and then put on the next board, which is the Icefall board. This you want to rotate in said direction, so the legendary node is straight down and close to the gate. Head to the right, grab Cryomancy on the way for more cold damage. You do eventually want more chill application here too, but again, I just don't have the points at the moment. I really need to get my XP grind on, and then we go down and get Icefall. Killing a frozen enemy, which we do constantly, gives you a barrier for 15% of your health. Barriers, as we've seen, do a lot for us, so this basically means we are constantly getting this little barrier for free as we progress, and it's a huge bump to your survivability and general build output too. After that then, we're going to get a little bit sneaky. You would come all the way over here, you would get Polar Rime for even more damage to chilled enemies. Then we want to make a beeline for the glyph slot, grabbing 15% more damage to chilled enemies too, and the reduction from chilled enemies. This is essentially the ice board equivalent to the Burning Instinct board over here, and then in this last glyph slot we want to put Elementalist. This will give a decent bonus to both these rare nodes, which is really, really nice, but it will also give us a stacking damage increase for dealing fire, cold, and lightning damage. We do all three: fire from the fireball enchantment, cold is obvious, and then lightning from the teleport, so this gives us a plus 15% damage increase, which is really, really nice. After that then, we want to leave this here and head to this left exit, as that's what we'll be closest to, and then the next board that you want to actually add to this is Enchantment Master, and you eventually do want the legendary node, you want all of the offensive rare nodes, and this will up the potency by a lot too, and the glyph you would eventually put there is a control glyph to up your damage to frozen and stunned enemies, which is a nice little extra pièce de résistance for the build. That's all said and done then, ladies and gentlemen. That is how I am playing Ice Shards. It feels very good. I know it's not insanely different from what you might already be doing or might have seen, but I kind of like going this ultra lucky hit route to really pop off and have things flow with loads of mana, non-stop, very fast-paced. It's just really, really nice. Let me know how this compares to what you were doing and how you are finding it mana-wise, because it really does feel like a build that properly comes online once you do get past the 70s, have enough Paragon points, and can properly set it up and get the right stats on your gear. And to close it out, I will say that I prefer still Lash how it actually functions. You know, fun-wise, I think it's more enjoyable, it feels a little bit more intense, but that's a good thing to me. Ice Shards can be a little bit, even just the fact that when an enemy's right on top of you, sometimes the Ice Shards just doesn't affect them, and that's really annoying. But I also think Lash has the higher potential because of the unique helm that gives +4 to every skill. That means every unstable current cast will be casting a +4 electric skill, which I imagine would skyrocket the damage, but it's something I can't wait to test, but that just means getting one of the rarest items in the game, so you know, I'll get right on that, everybody. In any case, two very good endgame sorcerer builds, and hey, at least we have two equally viable powerhouses. After this, I got a few ideas for some side grade builds, for some fun, interesting ones, for some ways to play that might not be the most optimum, but certainly provide a different experience and still get the job done, so look forward to that. For now then, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.